Being in hell sucks. But you want to know what sucks even more than being in the literal icon of torment and sin? Velma. Now, I've already made a video discussing this show and the things it fucks up in its narrative, but this video is largely not about the narrative of Velma itself. Now, when I talk about a show, I like to talk about, the show itself, rather than things surrounding it, because I notice a lot of people spend more time focusing on controversies surrounding shows than they do the shows themselves. It gets even worse when there's a lot of political discourse around a show, because then people start being assholes about it. Can I just talk about a show, please, and not have to worry about 500 controversies surrounding it? But I guess it's my fault for talking about shows with the amount of reverence as Velma. But this video isn't only about Velma, it's more about a discussion Velma has sparked. I'm going to read a few comments that I've gotten on my videos about Velma to show off what this argument looks like in action. Why did you watch this? It's because of these rage watchings that they are getting a second season. Just ignore it. You don't want a show to do well? Don't watch it. Don't watch it, don't talk about it, ignore it. When something disappears into mediocrity and gets memory hold, it doesn't come back in the same way. Hollywood still thinks any press is good press. You watching and marketing these videos is what causes the second season to get greenlit. Stop hate watching! As fun as it is to hate on shows like these, we really need to stop giving these writers what they want. It's obvious they want us to make videos bashing their shows, as we need to watch it in order to actually bash it, and watching it is what gives them money. Also, hate watching this show is still watching it, and watching it is what gives them money, so we should stop hate watching it too. If you don't hate watch it, or even talk a kid, it'll go away. This show is just farming views for making everyone mad at it. Maybe y'all shouldn't have hate watched it? Now, these comments pretty much say the exact same thing. Everyone's flocking to the show to hate on it, and by watching the show to hate on it, you're empowering HBO Max to make more seasons. Basically, it's the consumer's fault that the company is making bad shows. And we should all just stick our heads in the sand and let Velma pass on by. I just have one little old thing to ask about this hate-watching discussion in the comments.
I have just one question, kids. And this is important for me to know for safety purposes. How many of you are idiots? Because judging from the response to that video, it's a lot.
I'm gonna be honest with you, this whole discussion is dumb as hell, and take that from someone who's in hell. There's just so many things I could say about how wrong these takes are, but why don't I start with a question. How do you know that Velma was successful? How are you certain that Velma was actually a successful show that drew in a lot of viewership? Because it got a second season? Well, tons of terrible shows with low viewerships get multiple seasons. Hell, the show Batwoman got 3 seasons, and we actually have the ratings for Batwoman, and they were abysmal. Well, HBO Max said it had the largest premiere day. Well, what does that mean? First of all, it was only for animated series, and we don't know how well all those other animated series did. To put it simply, HBO Max is not required to tell us how many views their shows get because they're a streaming service. They can pretty much say whatever the fuck they want, and we can't really figure out if it's true or not because we don't have the data. Sure, they could say things like biggest premiere day, or it got viewership, this, that, and whatever else, but it doesn't really matter because we don't know what the numbers are. For all we know, they could just be bullshitting. How can I or you or anyone know if they're telling the truth if we don't have the numbers to verify? But you may say, what? This company would never lie about their numbers to viewers or investors. That's probably illegal. I mean, it's not like companies are getting sued for doing that exact same thing. Yeah, companies can lie to you. Whoa, big shocker, oh. How do you know they're telling the truth when they say Velma was a successful show? For all we know, they're just lying through their teeth. It's not like a normal TV show that releases its ratings so we can see directly how many people are watching it. But there are a lot of YouTubers and reviewers who made content about Velma. They had to watch the show, and all their fans, they're gonna go watch and hate watch the show because they made videos about it. So yeah, it is gonna drive up the viewership. We know there's a lot of viewership because there's just a lot of people talking about it. Well, there's a lot of things wrong with that theory. Why don't I start with the first problem?
Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate. You're har-fiddle-dee-dee. Being a pirate is a rat-a-tee. Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
piracy exists. It's weird how a lot of people who make this argument don't even think about that. Do you think every single reviewer who managed to get footage of this show was actually watching it on HBO Max? Do you think they paid for an HBO Max subscription just to watch Velma? Piracy is on the rise, and more people pirate stuff now than ever. And tons of people pirate shows they love. Do you really think they're gonna break that rule and pay for a show they hate? Now again, I can't go to every single person who watched Velma and verify that they pirated it or went to HBO Max and find all the numbers. But really all you have to do is take one quick look at piracy statistics to figure out that it doesn't take many logical leaps to make the assumption that Velma was pirated a lot. But even if all the internet critics making fun of Velma were to buy HBO Max just to review the show, it really wouldn't be enough to sustain it. There just aren't enough internet critics to do that. But then you'll say, oh, well, the fans will see the videos and then hate watch it. But that really isn't true either. And to prove that, we once again return to my old friend, Batwoman. Man, I reference this show a lot, weirdly. The reason I bring it up again is because there were a ton of hate videos on Batwoman, and I mean a ton. Thumbnails for days. But despite all that, the show's ratings were just awful. And it kept getting worse season to season as interest piddled out, and yet despite that, videos about Batwoman were still getting millions of views. If anything, the show did more to help the critics than the critics did to help the show, with millions of people flocking to critical reviews of it and yet 0 people going to watch the show itself. And there are a ton of other shows of which we have the actual ratings showing that even though there's a lot of critical videos on them, the ratings were still abysmal. Funny how this whole hate watching thing only becomes a discussion the second that streaming services can hide their viewership numbers. I can speak from experience when I tell you that people who watch critical videos of shows a lot of times don't even watch the show at all. I still get tons of comments from people who stumble into my High Guardian Spice videos, have not seen High Guardian Spice or anything involving High Guardian Spice, and just stick around to watch the videos anyway. Let's be honest, a lot of people are not going to watch the show just because there's a lot of criticism videos on it. And even if they do, they're probably just going to pirate it. To put it simply, these companies that are making bad shows are helping the critics more than the critics are helping them. But even if all these claims were true, they aren't, but assuming they are, would I be against hate watching and making reviews of shows that are bad? No. To explain my perspective on this, I am a hardcore believer that you should be allowed to watch and criticize any show you want. Everything should be open to criticism. And in order to do that, you have to, watch the show. But these people want to try and stop you from critiquing the show or making fun of it and saying that you're the reason it's getting multiple seasons and you're the reason they keep making bad shows. We should just all ignore bad shows and they'll just magically go away. I can't believe I have to say this because I think most people have learned this lesson by now, but ignoring problems does not make them go away. You can only fix a problem if you acknowledge it exists. The whole point of criticism is to find out what doesn't work and why and how we can fix it in the future. And you can learn a lot more from a bad show than you ever could from a good show. Bad shows make great examples for what not to do and how you can do things better. It's important to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better when you get to learn from other people's mistakes because then you don't have to suffer the consequences of failure. The pros of aspiring writers and authors getting to learn from people's mistakes and grow and create great works of art far outweighs the cons of HBO Max making a Velma every once in a while. And at the end of the day, it does provide entertainment. Getting to rip apart a bad show is very cathartic. Now, it would be great to live in a world where everyone makes the best stories at all times and never makes mistakes, but that's not real life. People make mistakes and get things wrong, so dumpster fires like Velma are perfect for getting to learn and improve. Utter dumpster fires like Velma, I think, are a necessary evil, because their flaws are so potent and on the surface that you can see them clearly and learn what not to do very easily. Telling people not to criticize a show because it gives it attention kind of defeats the entire purpose of what criticism is supposed to be for. And at the end of the day, ignoring bad shows is probably going to create even more bad shows than giving them attention would. Some people will say that they made this show to be hated on purpose so it could get views. Well, once again, we established before that we don't really know if it worked or not. And even if it did, so what? People who talk about hate watching will typically blame the viewers for Velma getting a second season, although there is a theory floating around that the second season was already in the works before the show even released. And even if it wasn't, it getting a second season isn't really indicative of anything. Again, bad shows get second seasons all the time, and sometimes good shows with great viewerships and a large fan base get cancelled immediately. Nowadays, whether or not a series gets cancelled seems to be more up to the hand of fate than whether or not it was successful or good. And if a show being talked about or hate watched means that it's going to get a second season, what about High Guardian Spice? I haven't heard a peep from Crunchyroll since that came out, and there were tons and tons of people shitting on it. The answer is it really depends on the company and whichever way the wind's blowing. I can't pretend to understand what the execs at HBO Max are thinking. Maybe they have their own personal reasons for continuing the show, but whatever the reasons were, it really isn't the viewer's fault that they're making bad decisions. And that's another thing I hate about this argument. It puts the fault on the viewer for the show being bad. It is not the critics or viewers who are watching the show that are at fault for the show being terrible or for companies making bad shows. It's the company's fault for, making the bad shows. It is not the viewer's fault for something the company did. It is the company's fault. They're the ones who made the show. Putting the blame on the consumer for the faults of the company is just really stupid to me. Do you really think people who subscribe to HBO Max have control over what HBO Max makes and why? No. They really just are a number to executives at HBO Max, and they can easily be replaced if they leave. To have any impact on Velma, you would need a shitload of people to leave just because it exists, and that's not very likely to happen. And even if it did, how do we know they would stop making Velma? There's no way to predict what these crazy motherfuckers are gonna do next. So, should you hate watch Velma? Well, if you want to, go for it. I am all for watching bad shows to make fun of them. Hell, you can watch it with friends and make fun of it with your friends to turn it into a fun experience. Or if there are any aspiring YouTubers watching my video, if you want to start criticizing something, Velma might be a great place to start. But as for me, I think I'm done with Velma for now. There you go, Satan. I talked about Velma 2 more times. Can I leave now? Oh, well, guess I'm back. Haha, fuck you, Mindy, can't hold me at gunpoint now. Now I never have to watch a bad show ever again. Wait, what? Oh, come on!